Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
In 2020, BlackRock's Larry Fink wrote in his annual letter to CEOs, climate risk is an investment risk. But since then, we've seen corporate attitudes to sustainability shift and evolve both in the US and here in Britain. This week, we're looking at what a new sustainability agenda means for companies. It's ushered in by a new EU law, but it is having an impact in the UK.
Welcome to the City of London.
The City of London.
The next station is Bank. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform.
The financial heart of the country.
The city.
The city.
Welcome to In the City.
Stand clear of the doors, please.
Welcome to In the City, a podcast from Bloomberg about the stories important to the City of London. I'm Allegra Stratton, and joining us on the show is entrepreneur and angel investor Rachel Delacour. She's the founder and CEO of sustainability data management platform Sweep, and she's advised global organisations including L'Oreal and BlackRock on their decarbonisation strategies. Thanks for joining us, Rachel. Talk us through this European regulation. It's got the charming title, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. Explain it.
The CSRD, so as you just mentioned, so let's use the acronym, is actually, I would sum up it with one word, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity because actually the regulators are accelerating the transition to a low carbon economy thanks to what is a playbook. Okay, the CSRD for me is a playbook, and for the customers we are working with, they are really seeing it as a framework to actually understand which kind of data points, extra financial data points, they have to look at, they have to report on, they have to monitor and to follow. And when you are forcing companies to look at the data, when you are forcing companies to be benchmarked, to be compared with their peers, this is when the transformation is happening, because this is when it's super important for companies to cope with that and to make disadvantage out of it.
So this is European regulation. In a second, we'll get on to the impact it is nonetheless going to have on British companies. But before we do, let's just focus on your clients and the ones you're advising dealing with this on the continent. Are you able to tell our listeners how companies that are reporting to the CSRD, how they are also doing very well financially?
Yeah, what the common patterns we are seeing with our most advanced customers is that they had already that sensitivity about sustainability. But today I'm working with Burberry, with the SSE in the UK, among others, in France with a large CAC 40 company as well, and they already had at core, that sustainability data they wanted to crush, because they knew that it's value actually, it's really added value. At the core of it, it's a data project. When you have the extra financial data, sorted out in your information systems, you can load once and report everywhere. And you can cope with all new compliances coming in. And our customers, the ones who are advanced, they've already started to organize their information systems. They already understood that you need a tech strategy in your sustainability strategy. And your sustainability strategy, they all understand as well that it's just a business strategy.
Let's just get two examples out of you for people listening who are thinking, how's it going to impact my business? The one example, if you would be how this reporting is revealing opportunity.
Yeah.
And then the second example would be, at some point someone listening is thinking, what if the data uncovers something I don't want to see and I don't want to deal with because it would affect my profit margin?
Yeah.
But first of all, give us that opportunity.
Yeah. So those frameworks of compliances, okay, it's asking you to actually look at your data on a regular basis, because you need to act at some point. You need to be able to propose and to build your infamous transition plan.
And manage your risk.
But the more you are, it's all about the data, because the more you are looking at your data on a regular basis, the more you are automating it, the more on huge amount of data within your business, within your value chain. When you start to do that kind of exercise, you are starting to understand also the hotspot, the carbon hotspot that you have in your supply chain, for example, or maybe what could be at risk when there will be maybe more compliances. But it's also, the more you are able to report on your data, it means what? It means that from an RFP perspective, I'm very digging into details here, but from a RFP perspective, when you are able to tell your ESG story, I can tell you that when you want to deal with the Nordics, this is something that is absolutely key when you are a customer who want to continue to deal, with to trade. If you are not able to answer properly ESG, you are not renewing your market. You are not winning new markets. So it has an impact right away on your top line. And when it comes to the bottom line, when you are also storytelling your ESG and your transparency and how you are able to open the books, bankers, we are talking about sustainability-linked loans as well. Okay, so whether it's lasting or not, but what I mean is that it has a direct impact on how you are able to have access to cash at a better price. This is important for the business, for the ROI.
The return on investment.
And they're not saying sustainability or else. They're saying we are future-proofing our business. Whatever the color at the White House, whatever the color in the UK or else, whatever the politics or else. In 4 years from now, everything can completely turn around. And if we don't start right now to work on our sustainability path, maybe in 4 years from now, we will die.
Well, no, exactly. We have these conversations, don't we, about acronyms and very arid regulations.
Yeah.
But actually, you're right when you look at the hurricanes that the United States have just dealt with, and the fact that 10% of their intensity was down to climate change. So I think you have very ably in one answer done both the opportunity and the risk for the companies you're dealing with. You alluded there to the geopolitics of it. If you're dealing with the Nordics, you really have to be in the game on this regulation.
It's an example. Yeah.
But you also mentioned there America. And I think this is something that's interesting for our listeners. We're sitting in the City of London in Bloomberg's HQ, and we are in between, as you say, on the one hand, ambitious regulation from the EU, and on the other hand, what feels like a backlash in the United States. Where do you think the UK levels out on this?
I think the UK should understand that when it comes to CSRD, the extraterritoriality of it is applying to US businesses, to UK businesses. As a US business, as a UK business, do you really want to not deal with the number one commercial trading area in the world? I don't think so. So you have to cope with that. Everyone has opinions or else, but there's no backlash when it comes to a business strategy. It's the mandate of the CEO today in that current world to understand what's coming in when it comes to extra financial data.
So if we're in the City of London thinking about the UK government, and for instance, we've got the possibility of a huge company, Shein, which we talked about on this podcast and others before, possibly listing in London. The government seems very keen because it would be helpful for them to tell a story about a big company wanting to list in London that endorses their agenda, etc. But it clearly has environmental question marks hanging over it, very big ones.
Yeah, it's a political project, actually. What do you want for your country? Whatever, are the opinions you have about Shein, do you really want to welcome businesses as long as they are transparent or not when it comes to their sustainability data? What I don't want people to understand is, to imagine it, to guess, is that, okay, there is a choice between growth or sustainability. And in the UK, we prefer growth. So this is why we are welcoming Shein. No, you can be both. You can absolutely be both. And the forever companies, we are talking about our customer this way, the forever companies of tomorrow, they are the ones who are making sure that they are growing in a sustainable way. When it comes
it's sustainable in two ways, isn't it? It's sustainable in the sort of green terminology,
exactly.
But also sustainable as in
exactly.
if you mitigate climate risk, then you are going to survive for longer.
Exactly. You can't do businesses in a world that is absolutely, where there is nothing more, existing. What I would love is that, everyone understand that it's fine to welcome that kind of business as long as they are opening the books, as long as they are becoming transparent when it comes to their data. This is the only way to improve things. This is the only way to go back to why data is absolutely key.
But Rachel, this is why it's a really interesting one for London, but also for your work, because right now, what are the regulations that would mean that if Shein listed in London, it would have to open its books?
CSRD as well, the extraterritoriality of CSRD. Shein is dealing with Europe. with that part of the world, and hopefully, the UK government will continue to increase, the level of regulatory demand, when it comes to sustainability.
Let's just take a step back and just ask the simple and central question, which is, obviously, this is European regulation. Do you think that the UK government will need and want to bring in its own version, or do you think that the power of the regulation on the continent will be enough? Because I've spoken to chief sustainability officers I know who are very much signed up to this agenda, but they observe two things. One is that they don't really have to do it, based in London. And secondly, that if they were have to do it, it would be a massive burden, in their words, and even this is people who are persuaded of the agenda, but it would be a real impact on their workload. And I hear what you're saying, that your company gives them data and technology to reduce that burden. But is it your view that the UK government will need at some point to bring its own version of this regulation in? Or do you think that actually the continent's regulation will sort of extend and not need that?
I would say that they will need to grow the level of what's demanding, the same way as CSRD, because of, as I told you, extraterritoriality means that UK businesses will have to cope with that. On the other hand, when we are seeing all the announcement about investments from the UK in carbon storage, in clean steel, etc., you can't measure the success of it if you are not measuring the data entry points, okay? You can't celebrate the success of it if you are not monitoring it. So at the end of the day, the UK government will ask companies to organize data projects to make sure that the investments are visible and the success, that can be talked about.
It's your view, Rachel, that the advice you are giving companies is meaning that sustainability and reporting on sustainability is helping their profits grow.
Sustainability data and the way you are monitoring it, is just being a modern company today, because we are all seeing that urgency out there. So you must adapt your business to it. And what I really like, and this is where I'm really excited with my role and with my role as a company which is operating, in Paris, in London, but soon in the US and elsewhere. What I mean is that having our customers verbalizing ROI, return on investments, out of their action plans, out of their investments in their tech stack, they understand that there is that climate strategy, okay, at the scale of the company. And I'm just the tech strategy within the climate strategy, okay? But when they are starting to organize that puzzle, okay, when they are starting to go back at the root of pixels of data, what those pixels of data in our production lines, etc., means in terms of carbon, what does it mean with my next when I will make decisions, about my supply chain, what does it mean? Should I go in that direction or in that direction regarding the carbon that I'm now finally seeing? It's all about making the invisible become visible. And this is where companies are able to make better decisions also on those extra financial elements, which are the most important one for the next 10 years to come, regulation or not.
I mean, one of my observations is that, just to sort of make it kind of tangible for people listening, is what you're talking about is being able to say, right, this supply chain at some point for you has got these climate risks associated with it. And so that isn't just a kind of, it'll be terrible, people have to relocate where your employees are working and so on. It's also, if that then becomes expensive for you because you then are not either, you've got a drought or you've got too much deforestation, which is going, so it's affecting.
Yeah, and this is why, this is where also I'm seeing more and more the CFO, joining the conversation about the transformation. And c'est passionnant in French. It's passionating because they are the ones who are really accustomed to think CapEx, OpEx. And when it comes to sustainability, when you are looking at your value
it's
chain,
affecting their bottom line.
Yeah, of course it's affecting the bottom line. It's about, where is the risk of non-compliance? Where is the risk of not acting at the moment?
I think sometimes, Rachel, the problem for the debate is that people hear the word regulation and they're in London and they're not actually thinking about the very material aspects of a supply chain and therefore a bottom line.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, some of these multinationals, they rely on raw materials, resources, a water basin or forest or so on. So people think it's a debate about regulation and they get very nervous and anti-regulation, whereas actually the examples we're just talking through are very much about bottom line.
Yeah, but so top line, you know, access to new revenue, renewal of markets, etc. Bottom line, access also to mitigate the risk of your investment, access to cash at a cheaper price, you know, depending on your investors as well are asking you, you know, at some point. So many investors are asking about the ESG data, okay, because they have themselves their own regulation. And at the end of the day, where I think regulators made a point, it's about bringing the playbook. Actually, it's more about analytics so that you as a business will be able to make better decisions.
Taking a step back, where do you think we find ourselves? I mean, certainly in this podcast studio years ago, we would be talking about sustainability strategies as really up there for a CFO, a CEO, and so on. Larry Fink, climate risk is financial risk, etc. We don't talk about that as much. But one of the things I liked about what you said earlier was that, you know, there are trends, it is fickle, but that behind the scenes, this continues.
Yeah. And you know, when it comes to regulation as well, you know, coming back to it, among the most important people in this whole chain, okay, of control is the auditors. And the auditors, they are the ones you already know when it comes to auditing your financial statements, okay? They are the same, you know, coming in with the same level of audit, you know, a same level of insurance, you know, when it comes to the controls of it. They are the same coming in on the your extra financial data. So there is room for tolerance, okay? As I told you, it's okay to make mistakes, but it's not okay to not open the books. Still, you know, having them in the game means that transparency, accuracy, and the more you have accurate data, the more you are able to make the real informed decision when it comes to your extra financial data.
Rachel Delacour, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to this week's In the City from Bloomberg. This episode was hosted by me, Allegra Stratton, and it was produced by Summer Sadi. Production support from Isabel Ward and sound design by Moses Andam. Brendan Francis Newnham is our executive producer. Sage Bauman is head of podcasts. And special thanks to Rachel Delacour. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to podcasts.